Everybody, how are you doing? This is Frank with Frankly Horse Racing, and today we're going to go over some numbers for the 2025 Kentucky Derby. Now that the draw's been done, the early forms are out. We're just going to go through in spreadsheet fashion. So if you are a numbers geek, you like seeing things in front of you on a spreadsheet, and you're not looking at all the other stuff like jockey trainer, pure post position. This show right here is not on handicapping by all the variables. It's just looking strictly at numbers from the different major number sources like TimeformUS, Beyer's, Brisnet, and Equibase. And then I'm going to use the pace projections from TimeformUS so we can kind of see pace setup. Everybody's saying, hey, this is going to be a really fast Derby. It sets up all for the closers. Well, let's see what the numbers currently say. Now, once you get in the starting gate and the jockeys have to make decisions, and then there's 1,000-pound animals knocking each other around, stuff can change pretty quickly. And we've all heard and seen there's been a few times, if not a few more than a few, where the best horse that day did not win because of race setup, a bad trip, getting bounced around, whatever it might be. So let's do that. They pulled the post positions yesterday. Here you can see on the screen, I've got the horses in post position order, and I'm going to find my spreadsheet and bring that up. There we go. And I'm going to make it a little bit larger, hopefully for folks to see. And we're just going to go through and look at the numbers. This here, again, the initial chart, I added on my own stuff here for the Timeform front and late pace projection. Now, I know Brisnet's real good at it also. They've got the Horse Racing Nation numbers in there, so I don't have the Equibase, just the the Brisnet, Timeform, Beyer. And I decided, hey, I initially took this chart from Horse Racing Nation before I switched it around and added a few things. So we may as well keep them in there. I've honestly never personally looked or paid attention to their numbers. So I don't know. I can't make comments. So let's take a look at these. So if you look, here are the horses initially in horse racing order. Beyer, of course, isn't also eligible. So maybe we should change that to an AE. And we'll see. It's too bad the Tappan Street scratch. I really thought that horse had a great chance in this race because young, improving, and tactical. So he's out, and the 15 rendered judgment got in, and I will do prediction show a little bit later in the week. But now let's just look at some numbers. So if we're just looking at the Beyer numbers, now this is their top number they've ever run. We can go in here and look. Well, let's go ahead and change this whole thing into ascending order. So we're going to come and switch this right now. Oops, I did it backwards, didn't I? Descending, not ascending. All right, so this is where we're looking at now. Again, post positions are here. Beyer is still in there, although at this point is an also eligible. So the top Beyer number has been Journalism, and that surprises nobody. He is the favorite. If you watch his races, his workouts, I think he should be the favorite. Again, he reminds me a lot of I'll Have Another, because he just keeps coming. A few of these other horses are the same way, but this horse is just a different, he just looks different than all the rest from here. So that's my demarcation line for the highest number. So it shows me that we've got a few here that have a chance underneath them to compete Beyer-wise number. To me, a few points, I usually look at like 4 to 5 points. There's not a huge difference, but I would still personally cut this off from Grande up, even though I loved Burnham Square in the last race. Again, this isn't a Kentucky Derby pick show. We're just looking at the numbers. So Beyer-wise, this tells me Journalism is absolutely the top horse, and we've got Rodriguez, Sandman, Citizen Bull, and Grande close. Now, I will say the numbers tend to from Aqueduct, if you look at 8 years of this, there's certain tracks the numbers are just inflated. And as much as I loved Rodriguez in the wood, we'll talk about this in my prediction show. I wonder if that Grande and Rodriguez number is overinflated, since we tend to get overinflated number there. But we're just looking at spreadsheet numbers, so I need to stop myself and not go any further with that. So journalism right now, again, has a huge shot, and then you've got about 4 horses that are close if you're just looking at Beyer's numbers. So let's look at Timeform numbers. So those of you that do look at Timeform numbers, I do like Timeform numbers a lot. But again, everybody's got a service or a number or their own that they feel most comfortable with. But I'll definitely look at everything. So let's go ahead and sort this one. And by the TimeformUS numbers, it's basically the same thing as you can look over here, just a few differences down here between Beyer and Timeform. So journalism again is top, but we've got a little bit closer spread than we do via the Beyer numbers with a few of these switched. As you can see, there's really only a few points between, let's go all the way down to American Promise to journalism. That's 6 points. I normally only spread 4, 5 max, so I guess that would take us down to the American Promises. And then if I'm handicapping, then I'm going to look at different things. What competition they run to, what track, what was the setup of the race, kind of like Sandman. I just had no doubt he was going to win that race if the race went the way it did in the Arkansas Derby. It was a beautiful setup for him and publisher. It just was. So that's handicapping. We're just looking at numbers. If I'm just looking at these numbers without any other handicapping knowledge, then I'm definitely using Rodriguez, journalism number 1, Rodriguez, Sandman, and Citizen Bull, and stretching. Wait, these aren't actually. I got some 18s down here. I'm not sure I sorted this right. There we go. Hey, that last few minutes I kind of screwed that up, but that's okay. Hey, I kind of keep it real. Let's look at this again. Here we go. Journalism, of course, number 1. We've got Rodriguez and Baeza, which ran a fantastic race to me. And I think it may have been better than journalism's because he pressed early after breaking late. But it shows me that we've got basically from here, American Promise up, that's 4 points. If you stretch it, that's 3 points. If you stretch, you could stretch the Final Gambit and Burnham Square. If I'm just looking numbers, blindly I'm going to go, wow, there's a lot of horses that have a chance in this race by Timeform, that it's a very close race until you get down here. But, again, you've got to re-handicap after the race. But just TimeformUS is a lot closer spread than it is over here. Journalism has a large lead over here, only a 2-point lead. But a 2-point lead in Timeform's, I would say probably like a 4 to me in Beyer. So again, journalism stands good. Let's look at Brisnet. In the Brisnet numbers, we are going to look at this. They're kind of like the Timeform. They're a little bit closer. Not a spread as hard as the top Beyer number for journalism. But again, it's kind of solidifying the same horses. We do have, a few that have run against each other in the same race, of course. So that's going to clump them. But by the Brisnet numbers, it definitely shows journalism. Baeza is really not in yet. And then Citizen Bull, his top number, which if I remember right was, God, I think that 107 was the 7 furlong number. So, you got to extend that out. But again, confirming journalism. If you're just looking at numbers right now, journalism looks pretty solid. Let's look at the Horse Racing Nation skew, and I bet it's going to be pretty close. All right, here we go. We got the same thing. This is a little closer to the lineup of Timeform, but you've got journalism, Rodriguez, and those are a pretty big spread. So Horse Racing Nation, I got to take a look at your numbers in the past. But either way, that's a big spread. So it's more like the Beyer side. But looking at all these numbers, if I didn't look at anything else, I would hammer journalism. I just would. Now, 20 horse race things can happen, but you can't really, you can't worry about things or all you can do is guess. Okay, well, this is going to happen. He's coming out of the one hole. Everybody's going to come over him. You know, but that's not for this right now. This is just straight numbers. By straight numbers, I'm going to say, and especially if you're doing like a show parlay, man, and in the Derby, there's all that money. Journalism is just a crush. I'm not telling anybody they didn't already know. Okay, now these are important to me. Let's come over here to the pace factor so we can really see if it's setting hard up for a closer or not really. So this is from Timeform, and it definitely shows East Avenue and Owen Almighty, along with Niesquos. I can't pronounce that name. It just doesn't work in my mouth, so if I'm wrong on it, I apologize. But anyway, we've got a pretty good pace going right there. Now, in the Arkansas Derby, I was looking at Cornucopia, who's running today at Aqueduct, if he doesn't get scratched, and his Timeform front number, and this is for the first 2 furlongs, was, I believe, like a 143 to a 145. So that just shows you how much pace and how fast that horse was in the front end in the Arkansas Derby to set up Sandman and Publisher. But anyway, so if I'm just looking at this in my head, okay, so I've got a 125, a 120, a 120, a 115. So I got 4 horses that are going to be banging pretty hard. And then I've got 4 horses that are going to be pretty close, but not on the lead. So that'd be Citizen Bull, Rodriguez, Baez is not really in, and then another jump to Coal Battle. So really, if Grande and Citizen Bull and Rodriguez can just sit right behind these horses, and then any of them who've never really shown the ability to close in on anybody, if they could do that, well, I guess Grande did in the Wood. Boy, they might be sitting in the catbird seat here because they're going to be going up fast up front. Now, since we've got a good pace, it looks like that's going to set up, let's take a quick look and see if we've got really, really fast closers. Well, we've got Sandman and Sovereignty and Burnham Square, which we all knew were closers, Chunk of Gold. So we've got 3 really good closers, and then a couple that are pretty darn good closers between Chunk of Gold, Final Gambit, and Journalism. Rich Strike. Rich Strike was a skew. I use these to find a skew. I had a lot of front end. Was there a skew to the closer? Rich Strike actually had a skew, the best closing number in that field, and with all the pressure up front, you know, he would have been a great long shot play that day. I used him underneath the top 2 horses, but I didn't use him on top, so that hurt pretty bad. So just looking at the Timeform pace predictors, it looks like it is going to be a front end battle. Derbies are almost always fast. When they're not, a Medina Spirit gets all the way around. But it is going to set these closers up. So now you go into the handicapping part. We know who the top numbers are buyers. We know the top numbers with Timeform, with Brisnet and Horse Racing Nation. I'm really interested to see Equibase. And we know it's going to be a fast pace, and we know we've got these closers. And to me, for our next one, and when I start giving predictions, I'm going to see, okay, this race sets up for you, or it doesn't. But where did you get that number from? Was a pure race setup for you? We're going to look at a lot of different factors. Was it the Colonial Downs, which, yes, that horse got a huge number, and he was by far my best pick that day in the Colonial Derby, the Virginia Derby, but American Promise, to me, it was a speed, or it was a track inflated number, but we'll find out. So the next time we get together, or no, what is today? Today is Sunday, so I would say, and I apologize about babbling on a little bit. Yesterday was a pretty long day, and I'm a little exhausted, but I wanted to get this out here because I think it's important. Wait, let's sort these again real quick and put them in post position order. And from here, I'll go through and highlight, but I will go through, do my predictions. I'm hoping DJ is on to go over this. I do think it'll be a fast pace. I do think it'll set up for closers, but who can get the best trip? Who can work through the field? But if we're just looking at numbers and I know nothing else but looking at these numbers, man, I think I did it again, didn't I? You would have to want to hammer the post-time favorite. I'm really doing some silly stuff, aren't I, here today? Again, I apologize for that. Stuff happens. I'm not one that does a lot of editing. I just leave it as it lies, and hopefully everybody gets along with it, and everybody's going to make mistakes. But looking here, it's easily pop off the board. Journalism, 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 journalism. If he gets the best trip, he's got a good post, and he's tactical. He's the one to bet just by the numbers. So by the numbers, this is Frank from Frankly Horse Racing, and I'm going to say journalism for sure is the one that I'm looking for here. We'll see what it looks like on my prediction show. I hope everybody has a great day. Take care, and we'll talk to you soon.